Okay, welcome to everyone for this. I am Mario Salano, the director of the branch Liguria of NIC in Italy, Northern Italian chapter. Welcome to everyone for this really extraordinary event organized by branch Liguria, thanks to the generous and nice availability of Peter Taylor. My red nose, for those who see me, as a volunteer of a local association visiting hospitals, is in honor of Peter. Peter is a real project manager guru, considered the most entertaining and inspiring speaker in the project management world, where he introduced the new concept of fun and very interesting concept of fun and productivity to business change. He is the author of the #1 best-selling project management book, whose title is The Lazy Project Manager. He delivered over 400 lectures around the world in more than 25 countries. But now I do not want to waste too much time. Before some two notices. Please write your questions on the right of the board. On the right of the board, yes, and I will collect them, and I will do my best to turn to Peter at the end of his presentation. Just, I want also to thank Peter because he just sent as a gift his book for everyone who is attending his presentation. Thanks a lot, Peter. Now I prefer to leave the floor to Peter and the project manager, who's mine.
All right, thank you very much indeed for that introduction, Mario, and I love the red nose. Getting into the spirit, very good. Yes, the project manager who smiled, with myself, Peter Taylor, known as the Lazy Project Manager, based on that book that I wrote quite a few years ago now, but it's still one of the best-selling project management books out there, and this is kind of the heart of it. When I wrote that book, it was completely different to anything that was in the marketplace at that time. It was I've been told it was short. It was full of honest stories about where I got things wrong and learned important lessons, but also it was full of fun. I mean, the book has dinosaurs and field marshals and Italian economists and Monty Python and Disney and stuff like that. It is very different, but it's all about, it all sits with my belief that if you can entertain people and you can engage people, they will learn so much better. Now, we live in some difficult times, and during these difficult times, I was kind of contemplating what it is I could do to kind of contribute back. And my first thoughts were, well, I do a lot of speaking, I do a lot of traveling, I do a lot of remote working. You know, apart from when I'm at conferences or when I used to go to conferences, my work is being very remote based. So maybe I could teach people about that. But LinkedIn seemed to be full of people who were experts on remote working. And then I thought, well, actually, at this particular time, people could do with a smile. And so I remembered, I went back to a book I wrote quite a few years ago, The Project Manager Who Smiled, The Value of Fun in Project Management. And first of all, I just put a thing out on LinkedIn and said, well, if anybody would like a copy of the book, let me know. And I was astonished when that LinkedIn posting had, last time I checked, it had over 15,000 views and was still climbing. And then I thought, well, okay, people must be interested in this. So I will set a period of time where I will do some presentations based on the Project Manager Who Smiled. And actually, guys, you're the last. You're the very last that I'm gifting this away. You got in there right at the end of the month, so well done. I know extremely short notice, so thank you to the organisers and to the Northern Italy chapter for making this happen. I really do appreciate that. So the Project Manager Who Smiled. Let's start. Why did the project manager cross the road? Well, to get to the critical path, of course. Oh, I can hear you groaning. It's terrible. I'm going to try and bring a smile to you. I'm known as the lazy project manager, but right now, today, I'm going to try and be the lazy, funny project manager. That's my intention. And perhaps that wasn't the very best joke out there, but there are some better ones later on, I promise. I am delighted in doing stuff like this. It's great to connect with people. You know, we're working in a very different way in these days, very much virtual, very much remote. You know, I can't say I don't still enjoy a an opportunity to travel and to meet people and speak. There is something that I do miss about that, but obviously that isn't going to happen for some time to come. But I was grateful for this this quote, and I have no idea who said this, but people tease me. They say it's my mother said this about me, and mothers are like that, I know. Actually, it wasn't. It was someone in Australia. I did a conference in Australia, and there was a post-conference survey done, and it came back with this quote. So, but it was anonymous, so I had no idea who said it. But I was really appreciative. It's not my mother, and that is not a picture of my mother either. When I first started using this slide, I did use a picture of my mother, but she found out and told me off, and I had to go and steal a mother from the internet, and that's her now. So I love what I do. Simply put, you know, I love speaking, I love engaging with people, and I love doing the sort of thing I'm doing right now. But you know, I make a living out of doing that, but I also do consultancy for organizations. I do coaching for organizations. I do training for organizations, you know, in the areas of anything to do with project management or PMO particularly. I've led some of the largest PMOs in the world, where we're talking thousands of projects and hundreds of project managers at a global level, and many other things. And these days I also teach presentational skills. So enough of me. This quote. It's actually an extract from the book. Now, when I wrote the book, I was working closely with Andrew Filev of Rike. Now, Rike is one of the many products for project management out there. I'm not recommending Rike over any other ones. It's not about that. But at the time, I was doing some work for Rike, and Andrew Filev, the founder, agreed to effectively sponsor the book. To allow the book to come into existence, it takes a bit of money to get a book produced and published. And so Andrew put up some money, and as a result of that, I asked him, obviously, I'm a very nice guy, I asked him to write the foreword to the book, and he did. And one of the quotes there is, "At work, a good laugh not only reduces tension and relieves stress, but also helps to increase team bonding and boost morale." And I totally get that. I totally believe that. I really do. In fact, one of the areas I'm working on right now is a startup organization. I'm an advisory board member, and it's all about project team performance, project team performance management, that sort of thing. Anybody interested in that, then reach out to me, because I think it's a very exciting area. But the point here is that I do believe a good laugh does so many things, and I want to share with you some personal experiences about where it has reduced tension, it has relieved stress, it has definitely increased in team bonding and boosting morale, and all the benefits from that. So Andrew, I totally get that. The other guy who wrote the other foreword, because I had two, I saw this guy, Alexander Gerov. He was part of an organization called Woohoo Inc., which is one of the most exciting company names I come across. And Alexander, he does presentations, or did presentations, all about happiness within the work environment. And I loved his presentation. I happened to see him just before the book was finished, and he agreed to contribute as well. And what he says there, this is not soft, idealistic, naive, hippie thinking. This is not fanciful stuff. This is not nice. This is not add-ons. This is not an additional stuff. This is at the very heart of great project team performance, I believe. And that's why I think it's, you know, when I talk about the value of fun in project management, it's not just having a nice time. I truly believe that there is value to the project team. Here's an example. Hopefully you know Dr. Seuss, American author. Now, Dr. Seuss came about, I mean, his argument was that fun is good. And he's right. He's right. So at the time when The Cat in the Hat was first released, which was his first book, it's interesting. He'd been trying to get this thing published. I think he was successful with his 27th publisher he went to. An incredible story. But at the time, the reading books in America, the Dick and Jane reading primers that the children, when they were learning to read, were given these books. The books were fine, but the books were fine because they had the right words in them. They had the words and the structure of the sentence that children had to learn. But Dr. Seuss decided that actually these books were fundamentally boring. And because they were boring, the children resisted actually reading them, and therefore it slowed their learning progress down. So he launched out the Cat in the Hat, and the Cat in the Hat is obviously full of crazy characters. It's full of color, it's full of imagination and a wonderful world. And as a result of that, children loved it. They connected to what was being presented to them. They wanted to know what was going to happen on the next page. They wanted to know what was going to happen at the end of the book. And the result of that fun and enjoyment that was brought into these books, then the children learned to read significantly faster than they had beforehand. They learned to read that much faster because they were interested, they were engaged, they were excited, they wanted to be involved. It wasn't a chore anymore, it was fun. So fun is definitely good, according to Dr. Seuss, and I agree. One of my other books I wrote, The Lazy Project Manager and the Project from Hell, it is exactly that. Again, it's a book I wrote quite a while ago. I'm quite young looking there. I'm very sort of young, handsome man there. The book itself is a workshop. And the workshop is based on a project that I was involved in trying to turn around. It truly, for me, was the project from hell. It wasn't a project I made in that situation. It was a project I was trying to recover and turn into the project from heaven. It was so bad and complicated and challenging and difficult, and I won't go into all the details about it. There was quite a complex background story to it. But when I was involved, the project was pretty much close to failing, and we had to do a lot of things to try and turn it around. And at the heart of this, I suddenly realized, well, this is a brilliant case study. I should turn this into a case study and a workshop, but I did. And we initially used it to help our new project managers learn our methodology, our approaches, etc. And it's all about gamification. It's all about having fun. I mean, the way it works, and very simply at the heart of it, is a significant exercise where people are put into teams, typically around 6 people per team, and we asked them to come up with a great team name, and and there's a prize for that, for example, creativity. We also monitor the teams, and award a prize for the best team performance, the team that worked well together. But what they're given is this timeline. They're gradually given this project from start to finish over a compressed timeline, because the project actually ran for many months. But this is all done over a series of weeks to the point of complete failure. And then what they've done is they are given the thing that every project manager would love to have, and that is a time machine. They are allowed to use the time machine once and allowed to go back and change things. And it's really, the exercise is, what would you go back and change, when, and what would be the implications of that change? Effectively, it's all about cause and effect. It's all about proving or demonstrating that the foundations of a project is at the very heart of being successful. Get it off to a good start, you've got a great chance of being successful at the end. And so this activity is just fun. Now, at the end of it, there is a presentation from each team, and you obviously you assess it and you give feedback and comment, and you award prizes. And I'm not prescriptive on how people do this. Some people put together a PowerPoint presentation. Some people put together flip charts, Post-it notes. I've had people do it as a fairy tale. I've had one team actually did it as a role play, or more than one team have done it as a role play, but one in particular, I was working for an Australian bank, and these were senior level directors, and they had the time of their lives. And actually, when they got to using the time machine, they as a team, they all walked backwards around the room pretending to go back in time, and it just demonstrates that anybody can enjoy themselves, but you can learn in the process. And that is at the heart of it: gamification, embedding fun, making life enjoyable, and it becomes far more productive as a result, I believe. Victor Borge said, the comedian musician, he said, the shortest distance between 2 people is laughter. Again, I believe this as well. Now, if I was facing you as an audience, I could judge this as I tell a joke and watch the smiles on people's faces. I can't do that in this remote format. But if one of the jokes I say later on, just makes you smile. We are momentarily connected, and we are very close at that point in time. And it goes on from there. It's like a ripple effect, isn't it? Because if I tell you a joke that you like, you've never heard before, and I'm sure that you're going to tell someone else within the next 48 hours. And so it will go on and go on. And humour is also powerful in less positive times. Now, this is this is an aeroplane. I think we all vaguely remember aeroplanes. It just seems forever since I've been on one. This was actually not my last travel and speaking event. This was the one before that. I was invited out to go to Budapest, Hungary, PMI. I was invited to go and do effectively a version of this presentation as an after lunch keynote, and we had a lot of great time. We actually got the entire audience wearing red noses and having photo shoot, and there was a lot of fun had. But anyway, I got on the plane to fly home. I was flying British Airways. I was flying into Heathrow Airport. And you kind of, when you travel, you kind of you drift off into a little bit of a sleep and a kind of shut down mostly, and all you're waiting to hear is about we're about to start our descent into Heathrow, etc., and you kind of begin to wake up. Well, something happened on this flight that I'd not heard beforehand. I was kind of woken out of this sort of semi-sleep by an announcement from the flight deck, which was, would all cabin crew attend the flight deck immediately? Well, I've never heard that before in all my traveling, all the travels I've done. So I'm sitting up along with most other people who kind of, well, what's going on? What's going on? And shortly after that, another announcement came from the captain. Said, "This is the captain. Have to inform you that there has been a reported leakage on the plane. We are unsure of the source or what it is. However, as a precaution, I have contacted Heathrow and we have initiated emergency landing protocol." Wow, I've never experienced that before either. Well, I typically sit where you can see those two doors over the wing there. I typically sit in one of those seats because you get a little bit more leg room. That's the only reason I sit there. It's fairly near the front. I like to be near the front to get off as soon as possible, but also you get this extra leg room. And so I was sitting in with this next to someone else. There's only two of us, and this gentleman turned to me and goes, "Wow," he said, I normally sit in this seat for extra leg room." I said, "Yeah, same here." And he goes, "Well, I'm thinking today this is a really good thing to do to get off this plane as soon as possible." Black humor, dark humor comes out in these situations. Very shortly after that, another piece of dark humor was heard, because if you've ever flown to Heathrow, might be aware of the thing called the Heathrow stack. This is basically a vertical column in the sky where planes, as they arrive into Heathrow, which is a very busy airport with limited runways, the planes go into the top of this stack at a significant height, and gradually they spiral lower and lower and lower until they reach the point where they exit the stack and they're given permission to land into Heathrow. Well, we're in emergency landing protocol, which means we bypass this entire thing. And as we came into our final approach and landing, a voice was heard just behind me saying, "Well, this is one hell of a way to beat the Heathrow stack." Again, dark humor. Now, outcome, obviously, I'm here. Nothing happened. We landed. The plane was checked over. We were put in a safe area. The plane was checked over. Eventually, people came on board, checked over internally. Nothing seemed to be wrong. We were offloaded. We were taken to a holding area. There was a very brief medical, and then we were sent on our way. I've no idea what actually was the problem. I probably will never know. But the point about it is that even in these dark times, a smile can actually relieve the tension in those moments. And the situation, there's so much fun out there at the moment. This is one of the ones I like out there at the moment. Remote learning. Luke, you must learn the ways of the Force. I am ready, Obi-Wan. Okay, let's see here. After you've logged in, you're going to want to go to the student portal and click Jedi. Remote learning. The other one I love at the moment is I'm sure you've probably seen this one, is, what is the biggest accelerator to digital transformation? Is it the CIO, the CEO, the CFO, or the CTO, or is it COVID-19? Of course, the answer has been COVID-19. Companies have in a matter of weeks moved towards digital transformation at a speed they would never have done without this. But dark humor again, dark humor. Richard Branson said, "Have fun, success will follow. If you aren't having fun, you're doing it wrong." Now, Richard's had a hard time at the moment. Obviously, he's significantly concerned over his airline, Virgin Atlantic. Last I heard, they had some sort of survival package put together. These are astonishing times. I saw a statistic not so long ago that said, in the situation we're in right now, that Zoom is the remote communication platform, Zoom. Zoom is worth more than the top 7 airlines in the world put together. The capitalization of Zoom has gone from 10 million to 200 million users in the last few weeks, is now worth more than you put together all of the top 7 airlines in the world. And fundamentally, of course, airlines have, their business has almost disappeared completely, and they're in a really terrible state. But when Richard was, not in this stressful state, he said, have fun. Success will follow. If you aren't having fun, you're doing it wrong. And again, of course, I agree with Richard. The wisdom of fun. Now, look, this character on the right-hand side, it's a character called Walter. It's Jeff Dunham, the ventriloquist. I love Jeff Dunham. He's very risque. He's very rude at times as a ventriloquist. I find him very funny. But one of his characters is Walter. And the thing about Walter is constantly and permanently miserable, as you can see from his face. There's no way he could ever smile. But actually, it takes less muscles. It takes less muscles than it does to look miserable. It does take less muscles than to smile. So, if it's easier to smile, then why don't you smile a little bit more than you look miserable? It's harder work to be miserable, basically. I'm lazy. I'm a lazy project manager. I think everything should be done in the most lazy, productive, lazy way. So why not smile? And you're putting in more effort to look miserable. It also gives you this bounce back factor. Now, if you've got this attitude of, team fun, team engagement, positiveness, etc., we know there are problems in projects. There's no doubt about that. No project has gone completely smoothly. There is going to be some sort of challenge. Well, if that's the case, then having the bounce back factor, being able to recover from negative moments, tough times, difficulties, challenging meetings, is a very good thing to have, I would say. And thirdly, it helps you work better with your teammates. If you have again this kind of positive attitude, then you are going to be far more engaging with your teammates and your colleagues and your project team members, and they're going to work and support with you so much better. Now, it's interesting. Positive people actually help other people more than non-positive people. It's just a thing. Positive people are more helpful in general than less positive people. And there's one group that positive people help more than anybody, and that is other positive people. Happy, positive people with a great outlook on life, looking for the best in everything. They will help other people have a similar view to life at the highest level. They will help other people as well. So having this kind of approach is really good. It makes you popular. It makes you infectious to others in a good way, I hasten to add at this point in time. It's something that just catches on. If you're positive, other people are more likely to be positive around you. So actually, the wisdom of fun says you really should have fun. You should really enjoy what you're doing. There was a piece of research that was done, and a very long piece of research actually. And what it found was, it went to basically the researchers, they went to talk to would-be nuns, novices. These are people who haven't taken their final vows yet, but they're on the very edge of becoming fully fledged nuns, having taken those final vows. What they did, they asked all these nuns at this point in their life to write a short statement about how they felt about life, a short sort of biographical statement, if you like. That was, tell us how you feel. And many years later, they came back and they assessed the nuns. Obviously, these ladies had now become nuns and had been nuns for some time. At the age of 85, this is when the researchers came back. As I said, it was a very long-term piece of research. At the age of 85, these researchers came back, and what they found was that the nuns who had written positive, uplifting, upbeat, outlook on life being good type of statements, 88% of them were still alive at the age of 85. A significant proportion of them were still alive at the age of 85. But when they looked at the ones who had a very negative, less or downbeat view of life, less negative bio statements, only 58% of those were still alive at the age of 85. And this, along with other pieces of research as well, it kind of supports the argument that actually happy people live longer. Happy people somehow deal with life in a better way. And maybe it's to do with stress, maybe it's to do with tension, maybe it's to do with all those things that can negatively impact your physical well-being. But again, another argument perhaps for having that positive outlook on life. There's a thing, again, it's another Swedish survey done in 2002, I think it was. It's the thing around reciprocal visual perception. And you can do this yourself, actually. I quite like to do this in workshops and training sessions, and I guess you could do it remotely as well. The way you do it is you get people to put them in twos, put them in pairs, have an A person and a B person, let them introduce themselves to each other, and then what you do is you get the A person to smile and the B person to respond. And typically, if the first person in the pair smiles, the second person will smile as well. It may not be as big a smile, but they will certainly put on a happy face and respond. It's a reciprocal visual process that we are conditioned to do. If we see someone smiling, we will typically smile back at them. Then you get the A person to look really miserable, and typically the B person will at the very least, will neutralize their expression, but they often will actually emulate them, and then they will also look sad as well. And then, of course, the fun part is you get the A person to smile and the B person has to look miserable, and vice versa. And that's when you get lots of laughter in a room, because people just struggle to do that. We're conditioned to respond to others and how others are. And so, again, if you are a very positive and smiley person, if you're upbeat, if you have that attitude to life, then other people will respond in kind and support you in that. I wrote The Project Manager Who Smiled a few years back. And the reason I wrote it was because, one was because people like the fun that I put inside the Lazy Project Manager. But secondly, because I came across, when I looked for project fun on the internet, I found some terrible jokes, some really, really awful jokes. And we have this thing called the groanometer here. And I can't hear you groan, but I'm gonna imagine you groaning. So as we go through these are really old project management jokes. Here we go. The nicest thing about not planning is that failure comes as a complete surprise and is not preceded by a period of worry and depression. This always gets the biggest groan because pretty much every one of us has heard this. It's very corny. It's something that, it's been around for so long, it's tired, let's move on. A risk is something nasty you smell, and an issue is something nasty you stand in. I actually like this one. I use this one when I'm teaching young project managers. I also do a lot of work with non-project managers, people who are perhaps delivering some sort of change but aren't actually project managers. And this, we all know what what I'm talking about here. You know the analogy. I don't have to have pictures up there for you. We don't really want pictures of this, but the point is, it works. A risk is something nasty you smell, and an issue is something nasty you stand in. I think I still quite like this one, and I still use it. It takes one woman 9 months to have a baby. It cannot be done in 1 month by impregnating 9 women. Again, pretty grown for that one. Maybe you think you can crash your schedule, but you certainly can't do it when it comes to having babies. Any project can be estimated accurately once it's completed. I don't even think this one's true. I spent a period of time doing project reviews and project recovery and some project audits at the end, stuff like that. And I tell you, I've seen some projects that have completed and we still couldn't work out how much effort had been put in, because some of the record keeping was terrible. The resource records, the time records, the cost records, they were so bad you couldn't actually unearth a complete picture. And so actually, I'm not even sure a project can be estimated accurately once it's completed. Nothing is impossible for the person who doesn't have to do it. Well, I think this is true. I think this is less of a joke and more of a fact. Well, you know what? We're always being told to do something by people who don't have to do that thing or help us out. Change is inevitable, except from a vending machine. Interesting. I love this one. I thought this one was always funny. But the point about it is, it's disappearing as a joke. The last few vending machines that I've used, I haven't paid by cash change at all. I've used my credit card and I used my phone the other day as well. This joke will become historical soon, but I quite liked it at the time. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. Well, it'll take you somewhere. I'm not quite sure where it'll take you, but it will take you somewhere, and it probably won't be where you wanted to go in the first place. So let's move on. Let me just talk to you about a couple of personal stories. Now, I'm guessing you guys know there is you have a day. It's called International Project Management Day. It's on the first Thursday in November. It started by a friend of mine, Frank Saladis, and it's an important day. But trust me, it's not the most important day of the year as far as project management is concerned. No, the most important day in the year, I believe, is Speak Like a Pirate Day, or Talk Like a Pirate Day. It's in September, and I came across this many years ago. I was running a PMO for an organization. I had over 100 project managers across 17 countries. Never got them all together. We always had to find ways to virtually and remotely connect with each other in this situation. I'd obviously met most of them, but we never got them all together in one place. Well, the first year I came across Talk Like a Pirate Day, I was so excited. I like pirates. This was before Pirates of the Caribbean even, but I think we all, as boys, we like pirates and we like dinosaurs and stuff like that. But I came across Talk Like a Pirate Day, and my PMO team and I celebrated Talk Like a Pirate Day. And we spoke like pirates on that day, and we found that you can go online, you can find pirate translators. There was a few languages back then, but I know now there are many languages. You can have Italian pirate speak, you have Spanish pirate speak, you have French, you have German, Irish, and more. And we had so much fun this year. I said to my team, look, next year, let's get all of our project managers involved around the world. And we did that. So I sent all of my project managers an eye patch and an inflatable parrot. And we celebrated Talk Like a Pirate Day, and we had a lot of fun. Now, look, we were doing work. We were doing real work. We were sending emails about projects and statuses and issues and problems and updates and all that. But we were doing it in pirate speak, and it was a lot of fun. It only lasted one day. And it was very engaging. It was very connecting for people. People kind of enjoyed it. One word of warning, make sure everyone's included. So a German project manager who was had a particularly challenging project at that time got so carried away with what we're talking about, he forwarded the email onto his manager for his advice. Of course, his manager wanted to know what the hell was going on, because when he looked at the audit trail of this email, it was a whole load of pirate talk and strange things. And yeah, so make sure if you do something like this, make sure everybody's included. Everybody is in on the joke. The second thing we did, which was useful, was to create some sort of connection with the group. We had a thing called It's Friday. And on Friday, it was the day that we encouraged people to share jokes, humor, cartoons, videos, or whatever it may be. And every week on a Friday, people used to do this. It's possible that they may have carried on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and just not sent the jokes to me. But it was encouraged to happen on a Friday, shall we say. Now, here's the first word of warning. Make sure everything is suitable. Filter this. Is it suitable for all, both genders? Is it suitable for all cultures? Is there language issues within it? If the rule here is, if you have any doubt at all, don't share it. Don't share it, because it can go badly wrong. And we don't want to offend people, but we want to have fun. And we did this. And there was some great stuff. There was the Dilbert cartoons and the YouTube videos and stuff like that. And it was a very connecting process to bring people who never met each other in most cases together in some way. The final story is one where I was working on a project that I was managing, and it was my fault. It was the worst project I've ever worked on, and it was going badly wrong. And at this point in time, we'd reached a point, and I hope you've never experienced it, but we'd reached a point where no progress was being made, really. What we were doing was we were burning resources, burning money, burning time. And as I said, everybody kind of hated everybody else, and everybody blamed everybody else. And obviously, as a project manager, I tried a number of things, but in the end, I took my core team with me. We booked a room in a hotel, a meeting room, and I brought in an outside consultant to work with us in the morning to rebuild the team, to blue sky think, to brainstorm, to all those things that consultants can do. And at lunchtime, when the consultant left, I realized that we hadn't really made the progress I'd hoped, and that actually everybody still hated everybody else, and I had no idea what I was going to do in the afternoon. In a moment of inspiration, or perhaps a moment of desperation, as people gathered in a room, I suddenly stood up in front of 10 people and said, I am going to solve all the problems on this project right now. and 10 people looked at me. And I walked out of the room and I closed the door. And in a very loud voice from the other side of the door, I pretended to be my manager, my boss. I pretended to be him firing me, giving me the sack. I gave it a minute and then I walked back in the room. Most people got the joke. A couple of people looked very disappointed I was still employed, but most people got the joke. And honestly, it was that point that broke the tension in the room. At that point, I could plot to the very slow recovery of the project. And I'm not going to kid you, it wasn't a great success. We delivered significantly late, significantly under scope, and massively over budget. But we delivered something. And at one point, prior to that meeting, I really didn't think we would deliver anything at all. So the power of fun, the power of humor is incredible thing. Yeah, don't underestimate it. The value of fun in project management is huge. Right now, obviously, there's a lot of challenges in the way people are working. Not everybody's back at the office. This is, I love this one. This is from the Lego team. They're obviously having a great time. I am presuming this is not a steering group committee meeting or anything like that. It's just a team meeting, but obviously they put on some fun. And you can do stuff like this. This is obviously fancy dress, fancy hat, or something like that. Meeting, some interesting characters there. My partner actually, she works with a group of senior executives in a very large software company, and she's obviously been coordinating a lot of remote meetings. So they've been in remote working since the middle of March. In fact, she just had notification today they will not be going back until February 2021 into the office, apart from obviously some essential personnel. So a huge period of time. But what she recognized very quickly was that whilst all the work meetings were happening and people were having the usual sort of smiles, etc., during these meetings, what was completely missing was all of those ad hoc meetings. When you meet someone at a water cooler, when you bounce into someone at lunchtime, while you're making a cup of coffee, maybe after work down a pub. All of this was missing completely. And so she's instigated a couple of things. One is a weekly coffee morning, which is open to everybody to just drop in. You have a cup of coffee or cup of tea or whatever you want, and it's not about work. It's an hour just to chat about life, what's going on, what's happening with you, share some experiences. As she pointed out, it's unusual that at least one topic of work isn't spoken about at that meeting, but it's not the purpose. And the second thing is they do also have every 2 weeks they have a happy hour, which is like last thing on a Friday. It's just for an hour and a half, and it really is a social thing. And they've done some great stuff. They've organised that everybody receives a little hamper or a little gift bag or something, and they all open it at the same time, and so forth. So, it's what's challenging at the moment is the fact we can probably replicate the work stuff, but we've got to make sure that we replicate the social part of it, the fun part of being at work as well. Otherwise, it's going to get very tedious. And you hear about people, suffering from Zoom fatigue or Teams fatigue or anything like that, and you've got to watch that. So I'm coming towards the end. It's probably been another 5 minutes, and then we'll move into some questions here. And I'll be really interested to hear your thoughts and what questions you might have about this. As Mario said at the beginning, you're going to get the book. Whether you want it or not, you're going to get the book. It's an ebook, obviously. It's not a printed book. I'm not made of money, but it's an ebook. It's PDF format, so it's readable by everybody. It will be sent through after this webinar. What I'd ask you to do is, I hope you enjoy the book. I like it. It's full of it's kind of three things. There's a couple of case studies from PMO leaders and how they've integrated fun into their PMO activities. There are some interesting and entertaining stories from some pretty well-known people in the world of project management who I reached out to, who were very generous with their time to contribute to the book. And then there is the submission of jokes, fun stories, fun experiences in projects from the world of project managers out there. A whole load of people sent me things, and I was grateful to them, and I included them in the book. So first thing is, I hope you enjoy the book. If you enjoy the book, then share it. I don't mind if you share it with one person or you share it with 1,000 people. All right? You can share it with as many people as you like, and it's all about spreading the smile as far as I'm concerned. wow, I mean, if people want to book me to speak, if people want to book me to do some consultancy, if people want to book me to do coaching or training, that's wonderful. But as far as I'm concerned, the book itself is free, and you can share it with as many people as you like out there. The one thing I would ask though is to connect to me on LinkedIn. Send me an invitation. I will accept it. Let's join the community out there. I have a pretty significant following. Please send me an invitation. It would be fantastic. Talking about the value of project managers, or the power of project managers, I did something else. It came to me. Another inspirational moment, if you like. It was a Sunday night, and I was thinking about what else we could do during this lockdown period. And so I set a challenge. Could we, as a global community of project managers, write a book in 21 days? I mean, that is literally from the moment I had the idea, compiling all of the submissions, editing the book, formatting the book, getting the book processed through Amazon Kindle publishing process, and getting it available. We did it in 21 days. I had lots of people interested. In the end, I ended up with 56 contributors from 20 countries. As I said, they all contributed around about 500 words each, and it's broken down into kind of it is a book of inspiration. It's there's kind of lockdown genius ideas, brilliant things people are doing right now to deal with the situation. I call those lockdown genius. Then there was some legacy inspiration. This is stuff that is going to change the way we do things in the future. And then there were some wildcards. It's just things I couldn't put into those two categories, but still felt they were really great ideas. On top of that, in case you're wondering about the cover, I set a competition for children of project managers to submit their designs for the cover, and I just like this one. I just thought this was great, and so it's very colourful. I included that, and we literally did it. We did it from in 21 days, and I'm grateful to everybody out there. It was just amazing. It is available in printed format. It's available in Kindle as well from Amazon. And that's kind of it from me. I'm going to wrap up with this presentation about the project manager who smiled. Move on to your questions. A couple of last things. That good-looking lady on the screen there. It's a lady called Susie Palmer True. If you want a great speaker in the future, then reach out to Susie. She was head of change for the Open University. She's just moved on to a new role now as a CEO of an organization, but she's one of the great champions of change in the world. She's young, she's exciting. We met at a conference in Athens. She was very rude to me, very challenging, etc. And I said we should write a book. And we came up with this book because project management, it's all bollocks. It's really not. It's not challenging project management about project management. And we believe in project management, but we argue that perhaps in some cases it's got a little bit too complicated. And what we did in this book was we got rid of all the things. We talk about all the things that make us angry in project management, and then we talk about the 7 core principles of being a great project manager. And as a result of that, the book is out in this wonderful, shocking pink cover. Again, I do like to do things differently. And finally, I'm a faculty lead of the PM Tribe. You want to check us out? It's a virtual community. It's perfect for this point in time. So just go and look for thepmtribe.com. You can find us. And at that point, I will stop talking. I will open up my camera, and Mario is going to give me, hopefully, give me some questions.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. First of all, thanks a lot, Peter. And also thanks to Giusy, I hope she is online, who allowed me and Francesco to be active in this really very, very nice event. I learned really a lot, and it was a great pleasure. I would talk a lot, but thanks a lot. Just one comment by me before turning some questions that I received. During Peter's presentations, I thought of some, I would say many occasions of fun and smiles during my career. And I realized that even in very hard situations, those smiles really helped a lot. even when we were really in a very dark Death Valley. This is my comment. So I now am passing to some questions that I collected what I consider the most interesting.
Okay.
And the first one is a comment, which of course can be left to you, Peter. The comment is, the real world is different. And the question is productivity based only on happiness, or are there other obstacles? Was I clear? Because even if to understand the question, it was not so easy, but I hope I transferred it correctly.
Well, I challenge the statement about, there is the real world. I mean, I live in the real world. I've been a project manager in the real world for, over 30 years, and I recognize there are times you need to be serious. There are times you need to have a smile and a positive attitude. I think at all times there is value in building that team spirit. I totally believe in this, project team connectivity, project team performance. As a result of that, a happy, great working team will overcome problems far more than a project team that doesn't like each other, doesn't connect with each other, and so forth. I think, it's just a matter of being the right thing at the right time. There are times where I've been very serious when I've gone in, when I got into high level board meetings or steering meetings, until such point as I felt comfortable to introduce a smile occasionally, gently, etc. But I think within the project team, I'm not sure I see any barriers to it. I think it's like the value is there, I would argue, and start with your project team, engendering that spirit. Don't go crazy. I mean, you're not going to let them dress up in clown uniforms and do no work at all. But it's about instilling a spirit in the team that they enjoy what they do, and people who enjoy what they do will actually achieve more. And it's no different from the standard team process. The forming, storming, norming, performing. Teams that reach that high level of performance are actually teams that are well connected, and I believe a spirit of fun and happiness is at the heart of that.
Okay, the second question is of a very nice friend of me. I don't know if I can name him. I do not name, but he is a former president of NIC.
Okay.
And the question is nice. What happens when the sponsor is smile averse?
Yeah, look, if you've got a very serious sponsor, look, all of this sits within the culture of the organization and the culture of the people that you work with. And what I always tell people is, look, if you've got a sponsor, and that's a great example, if the sponsor is a very serious person and only wants the facts about the project and is not there to have a nice time and socialize with you, then that's the way you have to be with them. But it doesn't mean if you can have fun and enjoyment with your project team, a great way of elevating that fun to a serious person is to showcase the value. So don't go into your sponsor and try and crack a joke or try and make them smile. But what you can do is go, look, this happened on the project, and as a result of this kind of, we did this kind of activity and it was fun, and so had this great idea and we all laughed about it. But as a result of that, we had this success. I think that approach can help you when it comes to working, sort of elevating the fun up an organization. It's like you're not trying to make them laugh, but you're showcasing a success that has already been achieved. And as part of the reason it's been achieved is through having a fun team activity or fun team event or fun team engagement. I think that's the way to do it. But don't try and if you've got a miserable, serious project sponsor, you really don't try and make them laugh. It won't work. It'll go badly wrong.
Okay, thank you. Last questions that I corrected is what about people who take themselves too seriously?
Yeah, let them. I mean, okay. I've always, it was interesting in my early career, I was challenged a few times because You know, I wasn't the person who stayed late in the office. I wasn't the person. I used to like getting there early and getting home and being with my family. I wasn't the person who looked miserable, serious all the time. I like to have a laugh and a joke. And you know, my early career, people did challenge me a little bit or talk about, you know, that, you know, is that guy serious? But you know, I always let the results speak for themselves. You know, at the end of it, in that first company I worked for as a project manager, you know, I would argue I was the most successful project manager they had. And in fact, you know, I eventually became head of projects there and moved on to other roles. So, you know, in my situation, I didn't challenge it. I didn't push it. I just showcased my successes and I let my successes speak for themselves. And based on those successes, I was allowed to work the way that I wanted to work.
Okay, I see another questions that just arrived.
Okay.
I read directly. The comment is, I think that smiling more is not only applicable to our job, but more than this, it should be a rule of life. Very well done, Peter. Okay, it was not really a question.
Totally agree. Totally agree. I mean, it should be a rule of life. And again, you know, it's just looking happy. It's looking positive. It's not walking around with a crazy grin on your face like a maniac. No, it is just having that positive attitude. There was a guy I worked with, and you know, he was a really good project manager. And his approach to it, I mean, to be fair, you know, he worked in a company where at that time, you know, all the project team members were typically, you know, in the office. But his approach was every morning, he would, first thing he'd do when he go around was go around and talk to people, smile, ask them questions about their personal life, what they've been up to that evening or that weekend, you know, get them a coffee, stuff like that. He totally recognized that projects are about people and he invested his time. Now, after that, he could have been walking into the most serious, challenging project steering meeting, audit or whatever it may be, but it didn't make any difference to him at the start of the day. He was always smiling, always happy, and always very people centric.
Okay, I think that we can stop. I thank you again. For me, it was a very, very nice new experience. and I do think it was also for the 126 participants of this event. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm impressed that you got that number in just a short period of time. So well done, and thank you to everybody who attended.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Peter.
Bye then.
Thank you again. Bye.
Bye, Peter.